Today's gospel reading follows the comparison of the vine and the branches. Last week, I said that there is three ways to remain in Jesus. The first way to remain in Jesus is to listen to the Word of God. And that follows the parable of the Good Shepherd. We also focus on the Good Shepherd. And the Good Shepherd is good because he laid down his life for us. But I said to you some weeks ago, we need to focus on the good flock. And when is the flock a good flock? When the flock listen to the Word of God and obey the Word of God. When is the shepherd a good shepherd? When he's willing to give up his life for the flock, as Jesus did. Then last week we meditate on the vine and the branches. And I ask you to do an experiment. Cut a branch in any plant you have at home and leave it aside, and go every day to see what happens with that branch cut off from the plant. And the children gave me the answer. What happened with that branch cut off from the plant? It dies, it withers. And that was last week's gospel. If we are cut off from Christ and the church, we die, we wither. That's why last week's message was, remain in me. Jesus said, remain in me. How can we remain in Jesus? By the Word of God, by the sacrament, especially the sacrament of the Eucharist and Holy Communion, and by caring for the poor and the needy, because it is in the presence of the poor and the needy that Jesus lives. Whatever you do to the poorest of your brothers and sisters, you are doing to me, said Jesus. And that was the message of last week. Remain in me by the Word of God, by the sacrament of Holy Communion, and by caring for the poorest of our brothers and sisters. Today the message is, abide with Jesus. How can I abide with Jesus? Jesus gave us the answer. Abide in my love. If you keep my commandments, you will abide in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commandment and remain in his love. And then Jesus said, I call you friends. You are my friends, if you do what I command you. Now, the message today is, we are Jesus' friends if we obey God's commandment, because love and obedience comes together. In this age that everyone wants to defend their rights, I wonder how many will defend their obligation, their commitment, their responsibility. Everyone is so quick to raise the flag of their own right. who is so quick to be so committed, to be so responsible to obey God's commandments. You are my friends if you do what I command you to do. Love and obedience comes together. I cannot say I love God if I don't keep his commandments. Jesus has given us the greatest proof of love, dying for us on the cross. We need to give Jesus the greatest proof of our love to God by abiding, by keeping his commandments. And his commandment is not a burden. God's commandment is for our greatest joy. If we love God, if we keep his commandment, we will have the joy that no one can take away from us. That's the joy of faith. Faith is not a burden. Faith is a joy so great that no one can take away from us. And today we are celebrating that joy by taking part in our first group of children who are receiving First Holy Communion today. These 6 children are so happy. You can see their faces because they are receiving today for the first time Jesus in the Eucharist, Jesus in Holy Communion. To remain in Jesus, to abide with him, and to have the joy that no one can take away from them.